Okay, it's live. All right, and now we welcome on to the show our first ever guest. So welcome to the show, Barstool Chief, also known as Ryan. He is a blogger from Barstool Sports who covers everything Blackhawks. Chief, thank you for joining us.
First ever guest. I'm honored, boys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So we're just going to jump right into it here. The Blackhawks, we'll start with the Blackhawks, kind of work our way out. Obviously, the Blackhawks had kind of a tumultuous offseason, a lot of expectations going into the year. You know, most points in the Western Conference. Everyone thought they were poised for another deep playoff run long into the spring. Get swept in 4 games by Nashville. And on draft day, obviously, they ship off the Breadman, Artemi Panarin, and Nicholas Chalmerson, who is a rock on their defensive blue line, and bring in Connor Murphy, a younger option, and bring back Brandon Saad, who was traded a couple years ago in the 2015 cap purge after the Cup. So, Chief, just what are your thoughts just on those moves and your initial reaction to it and how you think they've kind of fit in so far in the preseason as we open up the regular season on Wednesday?
Yeah, obviously that day was pretty shocking to see Chalmerson, who's been here for 3 cups, go, and then Panarin getting traded. Although I did predict that like right after they lost in the playoffs, you kind of knew something was going to happen. The term of his deal wasn't great. They didn't have a ton of attractive trade chips if they're going to try to make themselves better. So Panarin, while he's an awesome player, he's a little bit of a luxury. And if you knew that Hossa wasn't coming back, you needed a guy like Saad who can, play that 200-foot game, help you out on PKs. And then I think another part of that equation was Nick Schmaltz. I think Nick Schmaltz is going to have a huge year playing center with Patrick Kane. So regardless of who that left line winger is, today it was Hartman, it's been Sharp, it's been DeBrincat. I really think Nick Schmaltz is primed to be, I don't want to say a point per game guy, but maybe a 65, 70 point guy. I think he's really going to have a big year playing with Patrick Kane. He can do everything. So I think Saad mitigates the loss of Hossa, Schmaltz, and some of these other pieces, Sharp. Who knows, maybe DeBrincat too. I mean, he's been way better than I thought he would be so far. I think, and Kane's always produced no matter who he's played with. So it's Hanzus, Brad Richards at the end of his run. Kane's always been about a point per game guy. You don't want to trade Panarin, but it was a move that they could stomach to make the team overall better. From a schematic point of view, I think going with Schmaltz's speed coming up the middle too is going to create more lanes east-west rather than always trying to force a cross ice to Panarin. I think it's going to be a little bit easier. I think Kane's going to have maybe his best year yet. I'm hyped for Patrick Kane. The other one, I don't know. The Connor Murphy for Chalmerson trade. I think the hope is that you have a young defenseman who there's that old cliche you got to have like 200 NHL games before you see what you really have before you come into your own as a defenseman. He's a little bit over that now, and he's 24 years old. So you'd hope and pray that he's going to take that next step this year. But I think the D in general is going to be a work in progress. So we'll see. We'll see about Murphy. I think he brings, that physical element. I think he's going to be good. It's a tall task to replace Chalmerson. That one seemed, maybe you wish you didn't make that move. So what about you guys? What do you guys think of those?
Well, as far as the Jarmelson thing, I'm on board with you. Being a defenseman that plays pretty much the same way as Jarmelson, blocking shots, not too many points. I was sad to see him go, especially like you said, core guy, winning those 3 cups and everything. So that one I'm still a little nervous about. As far as the Saad Panarin one goes, I like Saad. I was really upset when he left in 2015, so I'm glad he's back. Maybe he'll help Taves out like he's supposed to. They said that Kane and Taves wanted him back. So maybe he can get Taves to be producing a little bit better than, maybe I think he only had like 50 some odd points last year. So maybe that helps him out. Chief, what I wanted to ask you though is about Hayden, the kind of last minute lineup moves that Q has made with Vinny being sent down to the AHL. and maybe just kind of your thoughts on what you think of Vinny in general, and then Hayden being in instead of Hinostroza.
Yeah, I certainly see. Look, I'm a Hinostroza guy. I don't think that's a big secret to anybody who follows me on the blog or on Twitter. I love his speed. The one thing I would have loved to see him do is become a top flight penalty killer, kind of like an Eric Halla up in Minnesota. I think that's a pretty fair comparison. He has offensive talent. He's got elite speed. I think he'll be up, not right away, is the indication that I've been given per a source, which we all talk to the players here at Barstool. So, I love Hayden. He's a smart kid. He finishes around the net. He goes in net. He throws his body around. Pretty responsible player for a guy that doesn't have a lot of NHL games under his belt. I just have this fantasy about him as a rough and tumble, kind of almost like a Ryan Kessler type of big center that can kind of be the replacement for Ardi Anisimov. And he's not a center. He won't be a center this year, but I thought, he's played some in college. He got a little bit of a look at center a couple times last year. I thought maybe a year or a half a year in the American Hockey League to kind of work on the finer points of the game would help him develop into that player that I want him to be, and I think would be great for the organization. But I certainly understand, the thinking to just, cut him loose, let him be a power forward, play downhill, don't work, just be a winger, crash and bang. And then Vinny, the thing about Vinny is that I don't think he can develop anymore in the AHL. I think for him to take the next step, he has to be in the NHL, and there's just not a spot for him, basically because they signed Bowman and Winkles, and I'm not a big Bowman guy, so that's kind of the move that. But what are you going to do? I mean, this is probably the safer thing, just because if somebody gets hurt, if you had put Bowman on waivers because Hinostroza beat him out, and somebody gets hurt, and Bowman got claimed, now you're like, oh, we're going down a level of guy to maybe a Yurko or a Dauphin or a Camp or something like that, who looked okay in preseason, but they're not Hinostroza, and they're probably bringing a different element than Bowman does. So it's a safe move. I don't know if it's the right move. Those are two different things. So I would have liked to see Vinny. I thought he earned it, and I like things to be based on merit. And he certainly, to me, looks like he deserves to be in the NHL.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You can feel free to disagree with me on this, but there were times last year I know where Vinny just seemed, like he didn't mesh well with the offense. He seemed uncomfortable. There were times where, it seemed like he was ahead of the play at times. So, me and Nick like to joke around that my comparison to him is Luis Mendoza from Mighty Ducks. It just seems like he's too fast for his own good at times. Like you said, though, he definitely does show signs of being a great player, but, he just kind of got the short end of the stick on this one. He's just, kind of the first guy out. So, on the bright side,
he's got a two-way contract. So I think if he had a one-way contract, like Boma, he would have been here. But he's still on his rookie deal. I think that Luis Mendoza is kind of a fair comparison for him for last year. Certainly, he's a burner, and I think he can kind of skate himself into trouble sometimes. So I think that comes from a lifetime of being the fastest guy on the ice, where you can I don't have to really worry about what's going around and have great awareness, because I know I'll just turn the jets on and blow by the defenseman. And I think, you get to this level, everyone's fast, everyone's big, and it's tough to have just one elite skill set and be an NHL player. Now, I think, last year was a rookie year, it's a learning curve. He already lit up the AHL once 2 years ago. So I would have loved to see him get regular time this year to kind of work on some of those things and get used to playing the NHL level and use his speed more effectively. And again, I think almost the AHL might create some more bad habits for Hinostroza, because now he's going to go back to a league where he is the fastest guy on the ice again, and he doesn't have to work on some of those smaller aspects because he can always just rely on that elite speed, because he's going around guys like Ville Polka, who just, who's a good AHL defenseman, but he can't skate. So I think, I don't know. I'm worried that they are setting him back and then making the organization weaker by not having him up, Where Hayden, for example, he would have had room to grow by kind of learning how to play a new position. And also he's only had, 8-10 NHL games. So, they're certainly to me, but again, the Hawks don't have a guy like Hayden in their lineup. So I understand both sides of it, but I think for the overall strength of the organization, short and long term, having Hinostroza up over Hayden would have, to me, made more sense.
I think part of it too, honestly, is that Strozzi was probably going to play, a bottom 9 role, coming out of camp and through the preseason and the regular season. So Hayden kind of has that prototypical fourth line makeup. He's got size. He can skate a little bit. He might pot you a couple, and we all know, fourth line goals are kind of like found money and stuff like that. Before we wrap up the Blackhawks, I had one more quick question. I just kind of want to get your key to the 2017-18 season. What's it going to take for the Blackhawks to be the Cup contenders we expect them to be? A few ideas that pop into mind there. Saad lifts Taves' production. Seabrook has a bounce back year. Crawford gives him a strong 55-60. Just what's your key to the Blackhawks this season to kind of, make the playoff run or lack thereof last year kind of a forgotten thing?
Yeah, and I think I'll tie the Hayden thing into this. I mean, they certainly want to be a team that's tougher to play against. So they didn't really have that. They got bullied by Nashville a little bit last year. And, obviously Tutu can't skate a regular shift. Hartman had the hand injury. And all of a sudden it's like, where's our sand? We don't really have any. So I think Hayden being that power forward will make them tougher to play against in the playoffs, along with Wingles. And Boma, they all kind of play that style. And Connor Murphy does too. But as far as keys to the season, I have no concerns about their top 9. I think Taves is going to have a little bit of a bounce back year. I think that line with Panik and Saad, they're all big, they're all fast, they're all skilled. They're going to wear teams down all over the ice, offensively and defensively. That's going to be a great line. Obviously, I already told you about what I think about Kane and Schmaltz together, regardless of who that winger is. Having a Nisimov with whoever as on your third line, whether that's Hartman and Sharp or DeBrincat or whoever, who knows what the combination will be. There's talent there, and I like the fourth line as well. I know you said his fourth found money. I think the best teams have a little bit more than that. Like they expect their fourth line to contribute. We haven't really seen that here since 2015. It's
like
kind of
Pittsburgh getting Ryan Reeves, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Ryan Reeves is just out there because that's a different situation because they have the best player in the world. So they have to have, and people take liberties with Crosby. So they need somebody to just punch people in the face sometimes. And the Hawks need guys who can play a regular shift. And they, again, like we saw it against St. Louis. They tried to pick up Dale Weiss. They tried to get Ladd at the deadline in 2016, and none of it really paid off. And same thing last year. They had a bunch of rookies, and Jordan Tutu got a game, and they just didn't have the type of depth. Now you add Patrick Sharp at $800K, who's healthy and looked pretty good, to go with the emergence of Nick Schmaltz and Hartman and Panik and getting Saad back. I think the top 9 and the forwards in general are ready to go. I'm worried about the D. I think the D is going to be a work in progress. I kind of like some of the younger guys. I thought Ruda, again, I guess he's not that young, but I thought he looked solid out there. Really like Jordan Osterley. I think he's going to be a contributor. I don't know what to make of Murphy yet. I was hoping to be wowed by him and just wasn't. Forsling, you were hoping he would take a step. I mean, I'm not, a professional scout or anything like that, but I didn't really see it. And I'm not a Kempny guy. I think Kempny's got all the talent in the world, but kind of a 10-cent head, and he's liable to kill you a couple times. You might have like a great game with 2 mistakes that end up in your net, and that's the difference. So I don't really trust him. I know he's kind of an analytics darling. We'll see. I think they're saying he's going to be in the third pair with Ruda, so that should be interesting. We'll see how it goes. Not a big Franzen guy because he can't skate either. So hopefully they can find a way to get that Hossa money on long-term IR and maybe find some reinforcements. So I like them. and hopefully Murphy and Forsling develop. But man, that D is a little bit shaky for my liking.
Yeah,
but I do like him more than I thought I would. I like him more than I did when training camp started.
Definitely. I feel like they could definitely use Philip Deneau right now, who, going back to the Fleischman and Weiss trade you were talking about, he'd be a nice cost-efficient fourth-line center, bottom nine guy for them.
He was a first-line center for Montreal last year. He had like 45 points. Imagine if you were able to deal Anisimov because you had Philip Deneau penciled in as your third-line center. I mean, you would have a much different team. You could take that 4.5 and find a defenseman somewhere. It's that one. That one more than probably any other trade is one that Stan wants back because Deneau is a player.
Right. So going off your point about the Blackhawks trying to be tougher to play against, the Central Division, just kind of working out from the Blackhawks talk here. Central Division is poised to be a tough division. Vegas is really big on the Dallas Stars right now. A lot of people in the hockey community are high on Winnipeg. They're big, they're fast. They got Steve Mason to go with Hellebuck this year in the blue paint. Working out from the Central, maybe if you could, please start with the Central Division and give us, who you think is going to contend from there, and maybe some other Western Conference, sleeper teams or teams you think are going to be tough this year.
Yeah, I think the Central's loaded. Central's trouble. I wish the Hawks were in a different division because that's gonna be trouble for everybody. I feel bad for Robbie Fabry, but that was a break because now St. Louis is significantly weaker. I'm one of those people that's high on Winnipeg. I think, if they can just kind of limit some of their, stupid young team mistakes, taking bad penalties, pinching at the wrong time, and then get stable goaltending, they've got everything else. They just need to be healthy. I feel like Brian Little's out for an extended period of time every year. But they've got everything it takes. And you think maybe Laine plays a full season this year with no injuries, and he's up towards 40 goals, just like Matthews was last year. And Wheeler, that's Jacob Trouba, Buff. That's a good team. I think they finished in the top 3. I'm not buying Dallas as much as everybody else. I think people are like, oh, they got Ben Bishop, all their problems are solved. I don't think Ben Bishop's that great.
I was just about to say the same thing. I didn't want to interrupt.
That was a nice move like 3 years ago. That's what I keep saying.
Right. Yeah. There's a reason why no team that was in dire need of a goalie went after him at the deadline last year. There's a reason Tampa Bay walked away and we're like, we're going with Vasilevsky. And he's just not he'll be an upgrade to the point where they're going to be like the Dallas Stars, where they're top of the division all year long. So,
and Dallas also added Mathot and Radulov. Any thoughts on those acquisitions?
Radulov is like an every other year guy. I think he probably should have gone back to KHL and then had an okay year, let people forget about some of his warts, come back, get another big contract. Because he was good in Montreal last year. It seems like he's like a guy who reminds me of like Yashin or Kovalev, or like one of those Russians that you just hate them because as soon as they get paid, then they check out. So I'd be leery about that. Mark Mathot's a nice player. The Johnny Oduya thing, like he never really got going down there. So I think that'll be an upgrade on the blue line for sure. But yeah, overall, I think Dallas is probably on the outside looking in. We're battling with I think Minnesota is due for a decline too. Like that team is just in a weird spot where their core guys are kind of getting long in the tooth, and their young guys that they were really stars in last year's World Junior are not quite ready. Like Luke Kunin and Greenway and those guys, they're not ready to be like everyday NHL stars yet. Some of them aren't even in the NHL, like Greenway and Kaprasov is back over in Russia. So I think they're going to start. You're going to see this decline, and so I think the Wild and the Stars will be kind of battling for fifth place with St. Louis, and then the top 3 are Chicago, Nashville, and Winnipeg. Obviously,
here's one of our main questions from last year. What do you think about Ottawa going forward? Because we're all convinced that last year was kind of like a fluky year in terms of like, how far they went in the playoffs. And, Carlson just kind of carried them most of the way. So what do you think their outlook is for this year? And like, can they keep up that success that they had?
Yeah, I think that their style of play, and if Carlson, I know he's still kind of recovering from his injuries last year, lends them to kind of, they want to beat you 1-2 to nothing every night. And I think they still have essentially all the same pieces. If Craig Anderson can, continue to play well, they still have Carlson. I know oh man, I'm going to right now, but they have the kid coming up from BC.
Colin White.
Who's going to be a nice rookie for them. Colin White, thank you. So they have some interesting pieces there. I know he's hurt but he'll be back. I don't know. I think they'll be in contention for a wild card spot again as well. That division is pretty tough too. Montreal, Boston, Toronto takes a step, they won't make the playoffs. Tampa Bay, got to think that they're back in the playoffs. So Ottawa. I think Montreal is the team from that division that made it last year that finds himself on the outside this year. I still like Ottawa. I was kind of surprised Chabot got left off the team, but he's a guy that can help them on the back end as well later on this year. So they've got enough. I think they'll be back in the playoffs.
Ryan, you were
probably not going to Game 7 of the conference finals again, but I think they're a tough team to play against.
Ryan, I just wanted, since we're talking about Canadian teams, you mentioned Winnipeg. You think they're going to be a divisional contender. Just mentioned Ottawa, shifting, a little bit west towards the Flames, and Edmonton. That age-old rivalry that they have. Jágr, obviously, as we know, just signed with the Flames, and I just got a notification that he said it might be his last. He's almost 100% certain that it will finally be his last season. But there's a lot of young talent on both those teams. You got Gaudreau and Monahan and Bennett, and then obviously McDavid and Draisaitl on the other end of things. I guess I just wanted to get your, maybe to how Jágr might help those three specifically. The oldest of those three is Gaudreau, who's 93. So he's like 24. So, with Jágr being on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, I think that's going to be pretty interesting. So, what are your thoughts on that rivalry?
I think it's great for hockey when those two teams are cooking. So there's just something about those rinks when they're both good. I haven't really experienced that. I'm 31. I haven't really seen both those teams be great like this, or at least good like this. That was that Battle of Alberta was kind of before my time. So I'm excited. I mean, they hate each other even when they both stink. So I think it'll be good for hockey. And the thing about Jágr is he just can't skate very much anymore. So, but he can still help you on the power play. Still has a tremendous reach. He needs to play with players who can control the puck. I think if he plays with Monahan and Gaudreau, they'll do similar things to when Jágr had success a couple of years ago in Florida with Barkov and guys that can get in the zone, working in the cycle, have enough skill, and then he can find those guys because they know how to play, and so obviously so does he. So. I think it's a pretty good fit. I know I had seen St. Louis tossed out there. I don't think that was as good of a fit as he would be in Calgary. I think it probably should be his last year, but who knows? I mean, the guy's in tremendous shape. Everybody that talks about him, like I played in that charity game this summer, and Dale Talon was a coach, and Brandon Peary was on the team, and they just rave about the guy that he's a lunatic and an animal and trains so hard. So I'm glad he's back in the league, and I think or maybe he plays with Matthew Tkachuk and
I love him. He's awesome.
And Monahan,
He's so good.
Yeah. So I mean, he's. I think they think they're going to be pretty good, and Edmonton is probably a contender to a favorite to win that division. I think LA, you could probably stick a fork in that team as being a top a top team you have to worry about every year, and Anaheim. I mean, they're not dead yet, but I think they're on the downslope as well. As Getzlaf and Perry just can't keep doing this forever. So, Yeah, I don't know. I think that division only gets 3 teams in, and it'll probably be. I don't know. Now that I say it, it's going to be tough because San Jose is still going to factor in there as well. But maybe San Jose is on the outside, and it'll be Anaheim, and then the two Alberta teams.
Yeah, interestingly enough, going off Dan's point about Calgary bringing in Yager, presumably to play on the third line with Sam Bennett and company. You saw Toronto do the same thing, bringing in Marlowe to quite a steep contract to presumably play with Matthews. I thought that was kind of a bold move there. Obviously, he's durable at that age, and he's still got the shot and everything, but that was a pretty penny they had to pay there. Going off the young talent part of Dan's question as well, with all the young talent with Tkachuk, Monahan, McDavid, Draisaitl, even going eastward, with Scheifele and Jack Eichel and just the plethora of young talent in the league. Who are you expecting, in their second and third year to really make a tremendous leap? I mean, it'd be really hard for McDavid and Matthews to make much more of a leap right now, but I mean, who are guys you're just kind of expecting to take over the league?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to sound like such a homer, but I love Nick Schmaltz. I think Nick Schmaltz is the real deal. I think people are sleeping on Nick Schmaltz. I think he's gonna have it, and it's hard not to put up points playing with Patrick Kane. So. I think he's going to have a really nice year. Take over the league is obviously a stretch. I'm interested to see what Line A does in year 2. I don't think this is going to be the first time in a few years that we haven't had like a franchise type player coming to the league straight out of the draft. I don't think Nolan Patrick is that guy. I don't think Heischer is that guy for New Jersey. So I'm excited to see year 2 of Brady, not Brady Tkachuk, but Matthew Tkachuk, and then next year Brady Tkachuk. But I don't know. I don't think, I think we'll see continued development from like Marner and Nylander, and then maybe I also expect Jack Eichel. I mean, it's not, I feel like people kind of forget about him, but I think, you read his comments over the summer. I'm a believer. I think Jack Eichel is going to kind of put Buffalo on his back and kind of take them, to the brink of the playoffs as they kind of build a nice kind of young nucleus around him. But I think Eichel is going to be up towards point per game, maybe more, if he can stay healthy. So that's somebody that people forget how awesome Jack Eichel is just because he's been in Buffalo and been injured. So I think this is going to be, I guess I would say maybe a breakout year, point per game type season for Eichel.
That makes sense. Ryan, I was thinking with all the teams we've been mentioning, everything like that, I guess just come playoff time, jumping ahead all the way to April, you think just your, kind of cup prediction, who you think might be the final 2, who takes it? Does Pittsburgh somehow go 3 for 3, or is it going to go back to the West or, somewhere else?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it feels like Tampa, if they have to be healthy again and they'll be in the mix. I think they win that division. Pittsburgh is still awesome. I love what Columbus did. I wouldn't be shocked if Columbus made a deep run. And then if Columbus finds a way to get Matthew Shane, then they might end up just being the favorite. And the other team that I think should really take they should just pull the trigger because they need a gun is Carolina. If you put Duchesne on that top line and bump everyone else down,
Hannafin? I mean,
I would do it. I still am a big believer in Hannafin. I know he struggled his first couple of years, but he's only 20 years old. That seems like the type of player Colorado would want back. They have, Hayden Fleury, his development hasn't been great, but he was a pretty high first round draft pick himself. He hasn't played in the league yet. Same thing with Jake Bean. They have Falk, Slavin, the Pesci, TVR. They have defensive depth there already. It's like, do you really need Hannafin to be like? If Hannafin is what's holding this deal up, shame on Ron Francis, because he has the other guys locked up already. He has a couple of younger guys that they can plug in, and guys like Matt Duchene, they don't become available very often. He's not quite Steven Stamkos and John Tavares, but Stamkos got to free agency and re-signed. John Tavares, I think he'll end up probably re-signing too. So these like big offense, these big gun centers that can get you, 35 goals. don't become they're hard to find. So if you have one that you can get for something that you have an abundance of, I think you got to make that move. And if Carolina does that, they could make a run too, because I love Scott Darling in net. I think they've got Aho. They got a lot of nice pieces down there. So Carolina's going to be trouble if they get it. So Carolina or Columbus, whoever gets Duchesne is going to be like the dark horse for me to make a cup run.
I love the Columbus pick as well, but the thing that's so tough is with the new playoff format. I mean, it's almost a lock that they're going to have to play Washington or Pittsburgh, first round, and it's so tough nowadays with because they had the third best record in the whole NHL last year, and they had to play the eventual Cup champions in the first round. So the new playoff format, it's nice for the condensed travel, but I feel like some of the times the best teams are getting knocked out a little earlier than expected, not by their own choice.
I love the playoff format. I think I'm the only one in the whole country that likes it. I want to have these divisional rivalries as much as possible. So increase the odds for me to get Montreal and Toronto, Boston, Montreal. I want to see that every year if possible. Edmonton, Calgary. I want that. Chicago, St. Louis. I think, so if Columbus and Pittsburgh are battling again in the playoffs in the first round or the second round, I think that's great. I think you got Ohio versus, PA, Western PA. That's kind of a rivalry in other sports with Ohio State, Penn State, Browns, Steelers. If the Browns ever, that used to be a rivalry when I was like a little kid, but that is like a real thing. So I think that would be a great way to kind of generate some buzz for the Columbus fans. Like, are we allowed to swear on this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We fucking hate Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's been kicking our teeth in every sport for the last, 20 years. And now the same thing in hockey. I think that would be great. And I love seeing people who are complaining about having Pittsburgh and Washington in the second round. What if we didn't get it at all? Because they were, because someone else knocked out Washington because they suck in the playoffs. I want to have those like blood feud rivalries. And the best way to do that is when teams play each other in the playoffs every year. That's what we got with Colorado and the Avalanche back in the day. Hawks and Canucks when they played 3 years in a row. And it was
God, I missed that rivalry.
That was the best. And you can't really get the temperature up in these series unless there's playoff hockey attached. And that's why I love the divisional playoffs. I would get rid of the wild card too. I would just have the top four in each division, and those are your playoff teams. I think they will do that eventually once they get to 32 teams. I think they'll get rid of this wild card and kind of have like four.
You think it's Seattle?
It's going to be
Quebec.
Seattle. It won't be Quebec. They're keeping Quebec.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah, kind of same situation as what they did with Winnipeg, where it's like a turnkey solution for a failing franchise somewhere else, whether it's Arizona or Carolina. They're for sale. I think Quebec will get a team, but it'll be a relocated team.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, Ryan. So just shifting gears again, I think this is going to be our final question. So you're one of the first ones, at least I saw on Twitter, who broke the story that the University of Illinois is testing out a D1 hockey program. So, for people that don't really know about that, do you think you could just sort of give a rundown of what they're going to be doing over the next couple of years, and then sort of what your expectations are for, for what they could be if they do get a D1 program?
Yeah, I don't know what the parameters are for a case study to see if they can get a program, other than like picking up the phone and be like, will you give us money? And then if someone says, some billionaire says yes, then they can have a program. I really think it's that simple for Illinois. If you look at Penn State as a model, they had Terry Pegula, who's the owner of the Bills and the Sabres, deep pockets, loves Penn State, loves hockey, built the rink, funded both teams, did it all himself. I don't know if there's a guy like that. I think that's pretty unique circumstances, but maybe you get 15 guys and pool their money together, and then you get a real rink, 8,000 people, something like that, on or near campus. And then I think you're ready. Then you're cooking with gas. I think St. Louis is sneaky, a pretty good youth hockey area to draw from. Really, the entire USHL, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana. The USHL is a great feeder program, and University of Illinois is smack dab in the middle of that junior league. And then, obviously Chicago has become a great place for youth talent. We've seen it on the Hawks. Darling was a Chicago guy. Ryan Hartman, Chicago guy. Hinestroza, a Chicago guy. I think it'd be a very attractive thing. I don't think the school will ever fund it. They'll need some donor to come in, and if they do, I think they'll do well. And I think the program, once it gets going, will make money. Penn State turned a profit this past year for the school. I think they it all turned. Technically, it's a nonprofit, but they had positive revenue streams for the athletic department. I think Illinois can do the same thing. It's just gonna take somebody with deep pockets willing to do it.
Yeah, I think they're essentially preparing for something like that. I could be wrong. I think Whitman, he has a plot of land, in mind to build a new ice arena. So I think, like you just said, it's just a matter of pulling the money together. I don't think, the state, no one really wants anything to do with Illinois right now in terms of money, but just getting those donors, I think, and then, going to a pretty solid conference such as the Big Ten, they can be competitive right away and pull from, areas like Chicago and St. Louis. So personally, as a University of Illinois student,
I think it's exciting,
but it'll be interesting.
Arena too. Do they need a new basketball arena?
They just renovated it.
They renovated it. Yeah.
Okay, so this would be a hockey only facility then.
Yeah.
I think that hurts their cause. I think if they were able to get kind of a joint thing with basketball and hockey, they'd be a lot better shape to get a real deep.
Yeah, and that sucks too because they need a new rink. The one that they've got, it's so janky playing on it because it's so wide. It's wider than an Olympic rink. So when I was playing juniors, we actually played the ACHA D1 team. And, it's a great atmosphere and everything. And you get the fans that can look over, like down and in to your bench. They could like throw food at you if you wanted to. So, it's a ridiculous, it's a ridiculous atmosphere. So, it's kind of fun talking some trash with the fans, and they ended up being pretty cool at the end of the game. But the rink itself is such a weird one. Seriously, I went to go make a DDD pass to my teammate to bank it off the boards. I ended up just passing it right out into the slot. It went off the boards and into the slot because the angle was so weird.
Sounds like an excuse to me.
Well, you know what? It's the truth. It probably is an excuse, but no, but it would be pretty sweet if they could get their own rink. It just sucks that you kind of have to have it be a rink and a basketball court. It'd be pretty sweet if they could get one, just themselves.
Just for hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think they just need some rich people to
Jimmy Johns.
Jimmy Johns. What's the guy's name? The old guy who used to run GE. He got his master's degree at Illinois.
Maybe the owner of the Jags too.
Shad Khan is the Illinois guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, tell him to fork it over. He's putting money down there in Jacksonville, put it into a hockey program. Take whatever money you have to give to Blake Bortles, and then there's your hockey program. So
exactly.
I think Illinois, and I think they'd be good right away. Like I said, I think they can use both Illinois and St. Louis as like their recruiting bases, and then draw from the rest of the USHL, and they'd be a really good spot.
Chief, you've been gracious with your time. Thank you again for joining us. Listeners at home, you can follow Chief on Twitter at Barstool Chief, and obviously read his Blackhawks and NHL content on barstoolsports.com. Chief, just one parting question. Who would your sleeper pick be this year going back to the NHL for MVP? I think my guy would maybe be Kucherov. I'm also high on Tampa. I just want to hear, everyone's going to talk about McDavid, Crosby, Matthews. Who's a guy other than number 8 Nick Schmaltz that might light her up this year?
Yeah. I want to go on the record. I don't have Schmaltz winning MVP of the league. I feel like that MVP award never goes to a dark horse, and it's just like, did the leading scorers team make the playoffs? Well, then give it to him. The only way that I think it could be somebody on the outside. I mean, I don't know, is Tyler Seguin considered a dark horse? Like, if Dallas is what some people think they are, and they finish near the top of that Central, and Seguin finishes with 95 points, maybe Tyler Seguin. I don't know if that counts as a dark horse though. But I think it would have to be something like that. I think it's going to be McDavid, Crosby, Matthews.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I know the boys are also appreciative of you coming on. So thanks for joining us. And, we'd love to have you back on sometime in the future. And we appreciate you, breaking the mold and being our first guest. And I know viewers are going to enjoy it. So thank you.
Yeah. Happy to do it. Anytime, boys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks.
No problem, guys. Are we all set?
Yep.
All right. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
What a fucking guy.
Yeah.
How long was that?
That was like 30, 35 minutes, I think.
We're at 40, going on 41 minutes.
How'd that go?
I thought that went great.
Yeah, that went very well.
All
I got a
right.
huge boner right now.
We should have fucking 40-minute interview. That was pretty much the fucking podcast.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like the last few questions, I'm like,
we don't need to do anything. I mean, we should do.
We can just do like sort of a season preview type thing, maybe.
Yeah,
but that might be a little too long.
And then, well, what we should do is clean up the ending because we kind of just stopped because he left. So we should at least polish up. If nothing else, we just.
Kevin will do that.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Also, Kevin, when are you going to have this ready? I feel like, I forgot to mention that we were gonna fucking tweet it at him. I'll just send him an email.
Yeah, like you said, he'll respond right away. So, well, when would be a good day to drop it? Because tomorrow might not be good because I'll be
tomorrow or Wednesday.
Well, tomorrow I'm probably gonna be studying most of the day after class, and then I got a test. Then I'm probably gonna get really drunk.
We could drop it, but we need to drop it as early as possible Wednesday then.
Wednesday, yeah.
Or mid-afternoon Wednesday.
Wednesday, actually, you know what? I only have one class on Wednesday. I'm done at like 11:30, so I can just get back, crank it out, and then
all right, I'm just gonna
get it uploaded.
I'm gonna say, hey Chief, I'm gonna say thanks again for coming on. We had a blast. We will most likely be dropping the episode. On Wednesday, and we will tag you in the tweet for the show. Is that good?
That sounds good.
Yeah. Also, we should probably I wouldn't be opposed to tweeting tonight. Now that we actually did it, we could say special thanks to Barstool Chief for coming on, or some songs on that. We got an episode coming up with Barstool Chief. And then when it actually drops, obviously we'll tag him again. Say put the link for the podcast.
Thanks so much.
Oh fuck, Dan! What time are we at?
Oh shit. We are on at.
It's pretty obvious what it'll be.
43 minutes. 43 and a half.
All right. Hey Chief, thanks.
41.
Hey, Chief, thanks again for coming on. We had a blast. We will most likely be dropping the episode on Wednesday, and we will tag you in a tweet for the show that we recorded. We will tag you in a tweet tonight that we recorded with you, and also on Wednesday in a tweet that has the episode link.
Yeah, say just as a heads up.
Just as a heads up. Thanks so much, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he was just went on to, go with the full podcast, talked a little bit of hockey, check it out. I could be very wrong, but.
That'd be
tweet
beautiful.
now? Should I tweet now before he goes to fucking bed or something?
Should you tweet it right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah.
Should I announce that we'll be dropping it Wednesday, like in the tweet?
Yeah, Wednesday I can do
Special
it.
thanks to Barstool Chief for coming onto the season
Premiere
of Go With The Flow. We talked episode Wednesday. We talked episode about.
No, just say like. You can say what we talked about in the tweet when we actually like post the link. Just say like special thanks to Barstool Chief for coming on. It's like something really vague.
Onto the season premiere of Go With The Flow. Be on the lookout. Our interview with him will drop on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's good. Just something like basic.
Should I say our fun interview with him will drop?
Not just say interview.
Drop on Wednesday. Cool. I got a tweet.
Yeah.
Special thanks to Barstool Chief for coming on to the season premiere of Go With The Flow. Our interview with him will drop on Wednesday. Tweet, Kev?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm about to pull it up, so.
I haven't tweeted it yet.
Oh, shit.
Here, you know what? I'll do an exclamation point. Sorry, boys. All right, it's tweeted. I don't know if he's going to share it or not, but. And I'll pin it.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
All right. All right. All right. So let's just start from the top and we'll see what happens. I've never done this before where you have to think about an interview. Now I have to do like the intro. All right. You guys ready? Where are we at, Dan? So Kevin,
you just be like, you can just do your normal intro and then be like,
yeah, I know. It's just weird. I never had to do this.
We're at 48 minutes.
Okay.
Right, what the fuck can we talk about?
We could just talk about, honestly, just a little bit of a lead up into the interview. Like, just
we could just like also shoot the shit about the off season too.
About what?
I don't know, everything, because we haven't had an episode in forever.
What the fuck's happened?
What do you mean? What's happened? Tons happened.
Such as, I'm serious. Give me an example. Like,
didn't we already talk about a shit ton of stuff though? Maybe not. I don't know.
Like, Kev, what from the off season should we talk about?
When do we stop recording? Actually,
I know we did obviously a Stanley Cup one right after the Penguins won the Cup, but I think we did.
Yeah, that might have been it.
Because didn't
we stopped in July? I think the last thing was Sakic. It was like after the draft, and Sakic was.
Oh, you're right.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think we did like free agency and shit. I think.
Yeah,
but he kind of gives a nice Duchesne, fucking.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think we honestly should just.
You think we should just intro it?
Intro it and do like a quick shout out to Brian Boyle, Ed Olczyk, Dave Strader.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That stuff. And then talk about how we have a fun interview.
Do we?
Oh, any initial thoughts on the preseason? Like, I don't know. Was there any? let's try not to talk Blackhawks because we talked a lot of Hawks.
To be honest, I didn't. I barely watched the Hawks, so my preseason knowledge is extremely minimal.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, really.
We could even talk about how weird it is seeing Vegas on the ice. Any thoughts on Vegas? I don't know. Fuck, I don't know.
They scored a goal, I saw.
Yeah, I think I saw one goal, and it was only because you put it in the chat, and I was like,
yeah,
like Nick said, their goal horn fucking sucks. I think that was literally it. I mean, I'm not kidding. I did not watch preseason at all.
B. Frank just had to split into 2 parts. Honestly, yeah, we can just sort of intro the interview, like we just do it, and just keep the whole interview. Because I feel like splitting it up would be kind of, hard to do, and not as smooth.
I think I just said it's kind of all relevant. Like, it's basically a season preview. Like, that's not going to be good in 2 weeks. Like, yeah. I think it's all relevant right now. Like, I'd love, to kill another week to try to find another guest to come on. But, like, I think it's all – I also DM'd Jeff Merrick, but I don't think he hit me up yet. So
pussy.
We'll see. All right. So let me just try to do an intro. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Ready, boys?
Yeah.
Dan time?
Let me time it real quick. Kev, we're at 51 minutes, 20 seconds.
All right.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Yep. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Go With The Flow. Today is the October 4th installment of – fuck, that was horrible. I'm sorry. That is
Rusty.
We have to have a bomb intro for this one. I mean, we just have to. We have to have a bomb-ass intro for this one. We had too good of an interview.
What the fuck's up, boys? Just kidding.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the October 4th installment of Go With The Flow. We have returned from fuck. Almost had it. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Dude, that was fine.
I started stuttering. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Go With The Flow. Today, October 4th, is our return from our summer hiatus, and we actually have our first guest of the podcast history in Barstool Chief from Barstool Sports. My line mates are joining me, as always, Kevin Bartman and Dan Marat. Fellas, what's going on?
How's it going, everybody?
Glad
to be back. Glad to be
Great
back.
to be back.
The boys are back, and they're looking for trouble. That was right. There was also an awkward pause after I said what's up, so we'll try it one more time. All right. What's the time, Dan?
Fuck. 53 minutes. Kev. 53 on the dot.
All right, not bad.
All right, 3,
Beautiful.
2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Go With The Flow. Today is the October 4th installment of the podcast, and for the first time in our short history, we welcome on a guest for today's episode in the form of Barstool Chief from Barstool Sports, their esteemed NHL and Blackhawks blogger. And as always here at Go With The Flow, I am welcomed by my line mates, Kevin Bartman and Dan Maratz, as always. Fellas, what's going on?
What's up, boys? Good to be back. Glad to be doing this
boys.
again.
I missed you, boys.
I know.
I missed you guys, and I missed hockey. And
glad it's back.
Absolutely.
Tonight is the the opening night of the regular season, and it's fun. That's good.
That's good. That's
okay.
Perfect.
So,
okay.
What
Kevin,
are we at right now?
54
Is that
minutes
true,
now.
though? Is Wednesday actually the opening night? I thought it was.
Yeah, I believe Vegas opens up with Dallas and shit. Give me 1 second.
We're the 5th, right? We're on Thursday.
I believe there's a whole night of games on before us.
It's October 4th. All right, I'll go.
October 4th. Yep, you're good.
All right, I'm going to go now. All right, I'm going to continue. And for tonight, for Wednesday, the opening night of the season, we have a hell of a slate of games as I'm looking here at the schedule and have been anticipating for a while. We've got the Battle of Alberta Pittsburgh has their banner night against St. Louis, and Patrick Laine will host Austin Matthews. It should be a thrilling, opening night of action, and we're excited for hockey to be back and kind of see the rumors and the storylines and the injuries and the drama and, everything that encapsulates an exciting NHL season for this 2017-18 campaign. Can't wait to talk about it with you guys. But I think we'd all agree that we would be remiss if we didn't mention some of the things going on in the hockey community and the world right now. It's been kind of a rough go of it here lately, in the hockey community. Ed Olczyk was diagnosed with cancer. Obviously, he's the color guy for Blackhawks TV, and he does the NBC national games. On Sunday, we lost Dave Strader, longtime ESPN broadcaster, NBC employee. He was kind of like the number 2 guy behind Doc Emmerich. Some unbelievable calls. Blackhawks, Kings, Game 5 double overtime. Kane signed, the Blackhawks to their second cup in 3 years. And obviously he also called that epic Toronto-Boston Game 7, the Bergeron OT winner and the 4-1 comeback in the third period. And New Jersey Devils free agent signing and longtime veteran and many-time cup appearer Brian Boyle is also battling a bout of leukemia. But the good news on that front is he hasn't ruled out returning for the start of the regular season. So, boys, just initial thoughts on, remembering Dave Strader, appreciation of Olczyk and Brian Boyle, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of a somber beginning to the year, but, we are excited hockey's back, but, we just have to talk about this.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers, of course, with everybody involved with all 3 of those men in their lives, their families, their friends, and themselves. It really sucks, that Olczyk's diagnosed and we'll be missing him a little bit, and Boyle as well, like you just said. And, I think my favorite memory of Schrader, I think, is, he's got a bunch, like you mentioned, but I think for us, or for myself as a Hawks fan, in 2013 when the Hawks played the Kings, the Patrick Kane clincher to get them into the finals against the Bruins. Just that whole game, not just that one play, just the whole way he sort of announces the game. He has his own flair. It's different from Doc's, and yet it's just as entertaining and exhilarating to listen to. So really bites that he's gone. Yeah,
I just got to say that the Edzo news really hit home for me because, growing up a Hawks fan, got to grow very fond of him and just, listen to him call games with Pat Foley every night was just, it's a joy. And, he's gonna miss a lot of time, but, he's a fighter. He wanted to be out there. He wanted to be out there for the season opener calling games. But, like you said, thoughts and prayers out to him and all was affected. Just really sad news to start off the year. But hopefully not too long before we see him back in the booth again.
That was good. Perfect. All right. Now what else do we want to talk about? Anything? Before we...
Ooh. What time are we at?
Well, how long was that? Dan? Staying alive?
Sorry. Yes,
what time
I was
we
muted. I'm sorry. 58 minutes, 30 seconds. I was talking that whole time.
So how long was that intro, Kev?
What did I say?
That was probably like
4.5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, 4.5.
I think you started again at 54 minutes. So
we're at like
45
minutes. We're probably at like 45 minutes total.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Plus an intro song.
We should do the ending too.
Yep.
We should do like an outro, I meant.
Well, I have to do the lead into the interview as well. So give me the time. I'll do the interview.
Fuck, yeah.
All right, ready? Dan,
what time are we at?
Time? Yeah.
Time again is 59 minutes, 22 seconds.
Okay.
All right.
Nick, go.
3, 2, 1. Absolutely, boys. I agree with both of you wholeheartedly. The Edzone news, like you said, Kevin, it definitely hits home. I've met him a few times. He just seems like a wonderful guy. off the ice or, outside of the booth. I mean, he was, also a great player too for many years. And I believe went number 3 overall in the draft, his draft year. So Edzo is a great guy. Strader, by all accounts, is an unbelievable guy off the ice. And, he could light up a room. He just had some absolutely electric calls. Fuck. I got to redo this part because there was a part I wanted to mention. I forgot. A UNLV hockey coach got shot in that thing. I wanted to say.
Yeah, he got shot in the Vegas thing.
So hold on, I'm going to redo that part. Dan, give the time. I'm just going to our Twitter to get the guy's name.
1 hour, 15 seconds. Okay.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Absolutely, boys. I agree on both fronts. The Edzo news, like you said, Kevin, it definitely hits home. He's, an awesome ambassador for the Blackhawks organization, for the NHL, and youth hockey development in the Chicago area, which obviously, relates to us being guys from that area and, hockey fans and, and in Dan's case, still lacing up the skates a little bit for his games and such. Straights was absolutely electric. Loved his calls. I mentioned a few calls I was fond of, but, just a guy that could light up the room and was, very well respected by his peers. And hopefully Boiler gets back on the ice. And also wanted to briefly bring up the tragedy of the mass shooting in Las Vegas from early Monday morning. UNLV hockey assistant coach Nick Robone was injured. I believe he received a gunshot wound to the chest. So, a hockey guy and, a new hockey hotbed with the Golden Knights, gracing their presence as the 31st team in the National Hockey League. And, you never want to see tragedy strike anywhere. And, obviously our home country, the United States, it's been, as we sit here on Monday, it's been kind of a somber day on that front too, with, several hundred people being injured and dozens dying. So we're praying for Nick and, Edzo and Boiler and everybody. Sorry to start off the podcast on a sad note, but we had to, send our best wishes to them. And we hope you guys are thinking of them at home as well. But without further ado, we welcomed on Barstool Chief from Barstool Sports onto the podcast. Obviously, he's a Blackhawks blogger, so we talked quite a bit about the Blackhawks, but we also covered some of the more recent news and a kind of a season preview for the 2017-18 NHL campaign. And it's a longer interview, but it was fun, and he was very gracious with his time. And I think the boys and I can say for Kevin and Dan, I think I can speak for them by saying that we all had an absolute blast interviewing him as our first guest. And now we're going to turn it over to our chat with him.
Broom.
Time is 1 hour, 2 minutes, 1 hour, 3 minutes.
All right. I think someone else should do the outro from that interview, like Kevin or someone just be like, damn, that was fun or something. I don't know. Give it a shot.
Nah, you just go for it. You're better at it.
All right, I'll go. 3, 2, 1. All right, sorry. 3, 2, 1. So, fuck. I don't. What do I even say? Like, I'll just say
just be like, all right. Say like, all right. Thanks again to Barstool Chief for coming on.
Yeah.
I think that'll do it for this episode.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Great. All right, and that wrapped up our chat with. 3, 2, 1. Thanks again to Barstool Chief, or better known as Ryan. 3, 2, 1. Thanks again to Ryan, or better known as Barstool Chief, for coming on to our season premiere episode of Go With The Flow. Boys, how'd you think it went? I thought that was an absolutely awesome interview, and he's such an insightful guy and obviously knows his shit about the Blackhawks, but I thought our listeners are really going to enjoy how in-depth he went across the league, and maybe we have some college hockey fans who might have enjoyed the U of I snippet at the end of the interview.
Yeah, it was
college hockey's on the rise. This is going to be a big year for college hockey. I can tell.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun year of puck, and I can't wait to continue discussing with you guys. So, boys, thanks again for joining me as always, and we'll see what the future has in store. We have some got at least one verbal on another guest, and we're working to kind of establish ourselves. And if you wouldn't mind, we'd appreciate any kind of feedback. If you want to tweet it at us, anything like that, DM us, or leave a review on iTunes. That will help our credibility, help us grow, and help us get better. And maybe you guys want to help dictate discussion by bringing up some topics that maybe we haven't covered as much or as thoroughly that you'd like to hear us discuss. So you guys want to give us any feedback, that'd be very much appreciated, and we'll continue to try to do our best. So you can also follow us on Twitter at GWTF Podcast, Go With The Flow Podcast, GWTF Podcast. So, boys, thanks again, and let's drop the puck. That's it.
Nailed it.
All right.
Time.
Time is 1 hour and 6 minutes.
Cool. All right.
Kean, you there?
All right.
What?
We are good.
Wow, that was exhausting.
Dude, that was a long interview. That
was fun.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like.
That was long, but it was fun.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like 25 minutes maybe.
What did we say, like 25 minutes? Yeah, and it ended up being double that, almost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.
No.
When's the last time you heard back from Merrick, Nick?
Like, I haven't bugged him in like 2 months.
I guess it's not a bad thing.
I just DM'd him. Yeah, he just said, like, let me know when the season's closer to starting. So, I don't know. Wait until fucking tonight.
Makes sense.
Everyone retweet that tweet. I just sent a tweet out.
Okie day.
If I'm going to, when we drop the link, I might send him a quick email, like, thanks again for coming on. And I might just point blank ask him, like, figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep.
Do whatever you think is best. I'm sure you won't have a problem with just, like giving a shout out or something.
Yeah. So I think the best thing we can all do is go just look for people who have contact info in their bio, because I literally just fucking emailed Chief and
Okay.
He just fucking came on, so that was great. So I had a ton of fun with that. So, yeah. So hopefully, the only regret is I forgot to ask him if he'd be willing to share it for us, kind of on his Twitter. But we'll see. I think if I email him again,
I don't want to ask too much though. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right.
Hopefully he tweets it, and that'll be good.
Yeah. All righty. So cool. So
right,
let's we'll be in touch in the group. Let's try to find. I mean, I think you guys are great. It's a little more fun having a guest, and it's a little less pressure on us having to fucking figure out something to talk about for 50 minutes.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
When you can fucking just go at it. Like, I mean, we were just talking hockey, and you had next thing you know, it's 40 minutes gone. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, boys.
Peace out,
Sounds
boys.
good. Peace out.
And I'll send you the link, Kev, on Facebook. Bye.
All right, sounds good.